My name is Wangari and I serve as a professional mediator. What that means is that I engage with persons who are in dispute and support them to be able to have an amicable solution towards the dispute that they have, and as best as possible to be able to also come up with new ways that they can be able to enhance their relationship. In my break time, I also engage in game development, and I'm also part of a team that's curating a very, very entertaining theater activity that's coming up very soon. Interestingly, you'll quite be surprised that mediation is a very strong practice. I'll probably just take you even back to your traditional home setting. You will find that there are elders whenever you have a dispute and they come in. Those are mediators. So what Kenya is witnessing is that we are witnessing a team of people who are professional mediators, trained and certified, so that they can actually be able to provide professional services within this industry, use tools, use techniques that can be able to support you to make better decisions or be able to support you better whenever you have any disputes. In the judiciary of Kenya today, we have more than 500 mediators who are serving accredited by the judiciary, and we have many, many more who are in private practice. So yes, this is a growing field, allowing you to be able to practice, whether it's in family mediation, allowing you to practice in commercial mediation, allowing you to be able to practice in oil and gas, allowing you to be able to practice in international mediation, allowing you to practice in land and many, many other sectors. So an area like the intellectual property is really just one of the areas that a mediator can practice in. Mediation across the board supports parties, number one, to be able to maintain relationships. Normally, you will find that when you are in the for example, you're a software developer, you need skills from a very small community. You need skills from someone who probably has a very specialized skill in a language, and it's specifically that particular person that you need the skills from. So in as much as you will have a dispute, mediation affords you the opportunity to, yes, have the dispute, be in disagreement, but at the end of the day, after the mediation process is over, that you're still able to engage in the business relationship. If you're a startup, and let's say, for instance, at the end of the day, you have a dispute with, for example, your cloud provider, the intention is not that tomorrow hop into the next cloud provider who's there. It costs you money as a startup. Even if you're not a startup, you're a major league commercial entity. So mediation, one, supports you to manage your relationships better. It also affords you the opportunity to be able to keep costs much lower than if you choose litigation. Then number three, also at the same time, is that mediation keeps the power within you who are the parties in the dispute. The mediator, who's a neutral like myself, when I engage in any mediation, I do not make the decisions for you. My work is to guide you. My work is to now provide techniques. My work is to ask questions to the parties, the two parties or the parties that are involved, that help them to be able to be the ones who actually come up with a solution. What that really means is that then at the end of the day, the solution that can come out of that particular mediation is something that they can use even beyond that particular dispute. So I really think that we can actually even say that mediation actually can make business sense for the long-term business strategy. Mediation stretches even beyond the people, the benefits, beyond the persons who are the disputants themselves. Let's take a situation whereby we have local developer, a Kenyan developer, who's made an application that is supposed to support mothers during the 9 months before they deliver a child, and then now they have probably a copyright dispute that comes in between. So already the application is probably on Google Play Store, or it's already been, and so it's already in use by the actual mothers to track the pregnancy, and doctors are using it to monitor the children. Especially sometimes you have some critical cases where maybe like children who have been noted to have some congenital defects, and so doctors are using that. Now let's consider that, okay, fine, yes, Kenyan developer Healthworks came up, developed it, and then now we have a Japanese firm that has now come up and said there's a copyright infringement. So what do we do here? Now, do we say let's run to court and now put an injunction, let's remove this particular application from the Google Play Store, so henceforth the doctors cannot use it to support the mothers in monitoring children who are potentially being monitored, especially with like high risk conditions. What mediation now affords the Kenyan application developer and, for example, the Japanese company, is for them to be able to come on the table and be able now to look at also the interests of the end users, beyond themselves, beyond their own interests of what probably could be around the profit or what could be around the fame, because probably now this innovation made the Kenyan developer, very famous because they developed something that no one else had, or they brought out into the market something that no one else had. So it makes business not appear as what could be considered as selfish. It makes business to actually be more inclusive in its thinking, so that it's also thinking about its users. So as the mediation process is going about, it could take, let's say, a day, it could take a week or a month. There could be agreement that let us allow status quo, that this application can still be available. Then in the meantime, as a professional mediator and a neutral in this particular matter, I can walk the two disputing companies through a mediation process, which could give like various options. Number one, it could give probably an option of, okay, fine, let us allow anyone who's using it at this particular time to use it. And then when we are done with, let me say, like the pool of the mothers who are currently using it, then that henceforth it cannot be used anymore as under the Kenyan application developer. They could decide that the rights belong to the Japanese company and let them be transferred. If there are any earnings, then the mediation process also allows them to be able to decide probably how can the earnings that were made by the Kenyan company be shared with the Japanese company. At the same time, it could even allow that they can be able to discuss how the Japanese company can relinquish any interests that it may have. And remember, I said earlier that it is their own discussion. So they are all looking at what are their particular interests. So I believe that what mediation affords is that the companies are no longer introspective. Companies are now able to say that we actually have an interest for our customers, our suppliers, and the chain that's a bit, let me say, like much bigger than this. In this particular area, I think that's where we would now be saying, for example, in a country like in Kenya, we have the Nairobi Center for International Arbitration, which one of its mandates is to drive the alternative dispute resolution so that it's adopted more, especially in the area of business. We have institutions like the Wasiliana Hub Mediators, which I engage in together with other practitioners. And then we also have other practitioners in private practice. We have institutions such as the judiciary. Today, the narrative around these institutions, the Office of the Attorney General, where the Nairobi Center for International Arbitration sits, the narrative is choose mediation first before you choose anything else, because it not only makes business sense for you, it also makes sense for your clients and other people who may want to do business with you later. Speaking with regard to the area of intellectual property and mobile app development, we need to have this conversation from the level where we are, but with a much bigger vision. A much bigger vision means that yes, today the whole of the people we have in the startups in the space in Kenya is startups, and startups made of many young people, some still in college, some do not even go into college, but they are still, they are great at what they're doing. We need to have this conversation not as segmented units. In other words, entities like Kipi, Kikobi, Business Registration, Office of the Attorney General need to harmonize the services that they are providing to the mobile app developers and other players who are really in the creative space. What that does is that then it ensures that there is one language being spoken. It also helps to reduce the cost of the actual services. If now you're hopping from one entity to the other, but if we are able now to be able to have a platform where the startups, the SMEs, and even corporations are able to access these services that relate to intellectual property at one place, for example, like at one portal, then it makes us a much more efficient country. not only even to our local application developers, but even it makes us even a more attractive country for, let me say, like now foreign companies or foreigners who would like to either be able to do business locally here or to be able to do business with our developers in the country. So I think I add my voice to that rallying call. Let's harmonize services. Let us harmonize services that allow them to be able to access and not hop from one place to the other. In the area of dispute management specifically, let's see Kenya trend set, just the same way like, yes, WIPO has the mediation unit. Then it is important that these same players I've talked about are able to come together and be able now to develop teams of dispute resolution practitioners, including mediators, including arbitrators, and also other lines of dispute resolution, who will make Kenya a more conducive place for the growing sector that is around creativity and inventiveness. Thank you very much.